I think it's a pretty known fact at this point that Nintendo Switch games are expensive. And I'm not even just talking about the AAA first-party games. Even indie games, if they're not on sale, are more expensive on the Switch than they are on PC. So that's why today I'm covering the best cozy games you can get on the Nintendo Switch for free. And no, I'm not including Fortnite in this list. Any game where a 9-year-old can poop out an entire building in 3 seconds is not the game for me, okay? Now, I am not a huge lover of retro games, but if that's your kind of thing and you have a Nintendo Switch Online, then there are a whole library of games that you can play. This includes a whole bunch of games from consoles like the NES and SNES, and this includes games like the original Zeldas and the original Kirbys. So make sure you click the Nintendo Switch Online app and check them out if you haven't already. It's also worth noting that you can play demos for completely free on the eShop. Most major releases have demos available that you can play now, and some of them are surprisingly long. A good example of a good demo to play is the Octopath Traveler. I think that lasts for 3 hours, but there are ways you can get around the 3-hour time limit if you just Google it. The first free game on my list is Pokemon Cafe. Now, this very much feels like a mobile game because it basically is a mobile game, but it is a lot of fun. The game premise is pretty simple. You run a Pokemon Cafe, and you need to carry out a series of mini games to serve Pokemon who show up there. And once you serve a Pokemon enough times, the Pokemon will actually join your staff, helping you unlock more recipes, which in turn means you get more different types of Pokemon available to show up. And once you have enough staff members, you can even upgrade the cafe, making it bigger. I feel like the minigame itself has the perfect level of brain cells needed for me to play this late at night. It kind of gives me Candy Crush vibes, sort of. Basically, all you need to do is try and link up Pokemon of the same type. And whilst you don't always have to be neat about it, you do need to be tactical. But to spice up this gameplay, the game not only gives objectives, but also items. These are things like sugar cubes, whipped cream, and nuts, each of which requires different things to break them. For example, for the sugar cubes, all you need to do is to connect Pokemon right next to it. The whipped cream is a little bit harder though. You still need to make connections right next to it, but you have to be really gentle about it, otherwise you'll break up the whipped cream. The objectives also give a level of difficulty with the game, as you can pass with either 1, 2, or 3 stars, dependent on how many objectives you meet. There's another level of skill added with the game when it comes to picking which Pokemon to use for the minigames, as each Pokemon type has a different ability attributed to it, making it easier to pass each level. Now, I know that sounds kind of confusing, but the game actually has a really nice tutorial system and takes you through it bit by bit. So don't worry if my explanation sounds wild. It does have a few of the mobile game tropes, like it has daily login bonuses and events to take part in. And honestly, that's one of my favorite things about mobile games, as it literally rewards you for just existing. And some days you need that. A few things to bear in mind before getting this. There are microtransactions available, so definitely something to bear in mind if you're giving this to a kid. And there's also, of course, an energy mechanic. Now, it's not wildly aggressive, but I do know that can be a deal breaker for many. But you can definitely get at least an hour of gameplay, if not more, every single day from it. The other thing is that the game can only be played in handheld using the touchscreen. That's why my gameplay footage might look a bit weird, as there is no way to play this in docked mode. But if you're looking for something to occupy you for an hour or so every single day for free, it honestly is a lot of fun and I enjoyed playing it. Next up is Sky Children of the Light. You knew it was coming, the question was just when, not if. I think this is the best game on the list. And for full disclosure, I have been sponsored by them in the past, but I do truly love this game and have been playing it since the sponsorship and well before it. I will admit the game can take a little bit of getting used to, as it doesn't really tell you at any point how to play it. I think one of the big things I got confused with at first was where to go. In reality, it doesn't really matter. You can go literally wherever you want, and also how the game even saves. It doesn't tell you any of this, but it actually auto-saves super frequently. And if you end up quitting the game, you can actually easily return to the point you were at when you next log in, as there's a little portal at the start that you can walk into and it will teleport you right there. But once you get the hang of it, it is so much fun, and it is honestly such a beautiful game. Sky Children of the Light sees you fly around in search of spirits. and has such a wide array of beautiful levels to explore and play. Some of the spirits are super easy to find, being directly on the path that takes you to the exit. Which, by the way, if you're trying to figure out where to go in this game, literally just honk and a little star appears and head towards it. Eventually, you'll find the end of the level. Other spirits, however, are a little bit harder to find. They either require you to explore way beyond the straight path to the exit, or they'll require you to do things like solve puzzles, get past doors with other players, or some of them are even locked behind walls that can only be opened once you've already found a certain amount of spirits. So far, every time I have redone a previous level, I have found some new areas that I had never discovered before and some new spirits. And whilst this is technically an MMO, this has to be the coziest MMO to have ever existed. As each level you play, you'll be doing alongside real life people, both new players and old. And it's one of the few online games where playing with others doesn't completely stress me out, as there's really no way to let the other players down. From my time streaming this game on Twitch and also putting up YouTube content, I found that the community are just wonderful, and they're always welcoming new players with open arms. As I said, meeting other players is honestly so much fun. You can become friends so easily, nickname them whatever you want, and run around holding hands, guiding each other to the exit. There's also this thing where if you're stuck, you can request a guide, and a more experienced player will come along and help you find the spirits in the level. It's honestly my go-to whenever I feel lonely, as you'll always have people to play, and it's just a fun experience, and I can't believe it's free. As always, there are microtransactions. These can unlock you things like new outfits, new emotes, and stuff like that, but you don't need to pay money to play the core part of the game. Next is Super Kirby Clash. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I for a very long time didn't bother with this game because I thought it was like a version of Super Smash Bros, but with Kirby's. Turns out I was wrong. This game is so different to what I thought it was, and honestly, a lot more fun. You, of course, play as Kirby, and you take on various quests, basically just like fighting mini boss battles, where you have to defeat the boss before the timer runs out. You mostly do this by just spamming the attack button and doesn't require too much thinking, which is perfect for me, honestly. As you finish each level, you level up, gain resources that you can then spend on things like armor and weapons, allowing you to take on the even harder battles that lie ahead. Not only can you buy different weapons, you can also even pick the attack style of Kirby, with 4 different classes: a sword, a hammer, a healer, and a mage, each with their own advantages and disadvantages in battle. And whilst the game isn't particularly hard or particularly diverse, it is a lot of fun and is a pretty easygoing game. Although I have heard when you get close to the end game, it can get a bit grindy, but when it's free to play, I really don't mind that much. The cool thing about this is you can not only play by yourself, but you can also play with up to 3 other people, either on the same Switch, local play, or online play as well. I was a little bit worried, as I think this game is at least a couple of years old, that there would be no one to play with online right now, but I was pleasantly surprised that the first time I went looking for other people to play, we had a full lobby. So don't worry if you don't have any friends to play with, this game still seems to be going okay. Like with the other free games in this list, there are microtransactions involved to buy in-game currency, and this will help you get more powerful items faster. There is also an energy system to limit how many levels you can do a day, but because of its like repetitive nature, I think it's a game that you would enjoy in short bursts anyway, so I didn't really find it getting in the way that much. The next game on our list is another Pokemon game, and that's Pokemon Quest. This is another mobile adjacent game that again is a surprising amount of fun, and actually requires probably the most thought out of any of the games on this list. The premise is pretty simple. Pick a team, send them out on an expedition, have them level up, and get them to go on a harder expedition afterwards. But there's actually so much more to the game. The expeditions themselves, although at the start you might think are the main part of the game, I don't think they are. I just leave it on auto battle and let them attack whenever they want. The real skill comes with picking and setting up your team. Every expedition you send your team on has a type bonus, increasing the damage of those types of Pokemon. But there's so much more to picking a team than just that. Each level you do allows you to pick up different stones, and these stones can be used to give powers to your Pokemon, increasing their health, damage, and giving bonus effects. Which ones you place and where matter, with things such as a bingo bonus activating when you have all the tiles filled. To get more Pokemon to join your team, you need to cook meals. And dependent on the meals you make, different Pokemon will be attracted to your base. And dependent on how difficult the meal is to make, will tell you how many expeditions it will take until it's fully cooked. Getting new Pokemon into your team is not only important for the types bonus, so you have a well-rounded team, but it's also important as you can dispose of Pokemon you don't want to level up Pokemon you do want to be stronger. I think it's like that thing in Pokemon Go where you turn Pokemon into candies. It's one of those things you just don't question too much, you know, because you don't want to know the answer. Now, as this is a free-to-play game, you are limited by how many expeditions you could do, with a timer that tells you how long to wait until the next one. However, you can speed this up with in-game currency, which you can get by either playing the game or by paying money. You can also spend in-game currency on items, and which item you place offers bonuses to you and your team. It's another one of those games where you can kind of spend 1 to 2 hours playing per day, but keeps you coming back for more. Those are all of the games on my list, but if you want to see me rank every single Nintendo Switch game I have ever played, click this link here. I'll see you next time. Bye!